Hello, and welcome to your video guide to the U.S. citizenship interview. Becoming a U.S. citizen can be a lengthy and confusing process, so I'll be showing you a few simple steps to take so you can successfully complete your citizenship interview. The three things that this video will focus on are getting ready for your interview, the interview itself, and a thorough study guide of all possible questions that you could be asked during the interview. Before the day of your citizenship interview, there are a few things that must be completed to help your interview be a success. After you've submitted your application for naturalization, which is Form N-400, you'll receive a letter in the mail from the government with the date, time, and location of your interview. The government department that handles all citizenship applications is called the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, or the USCIS. This department was formerly known as the INS, or the Immigration and Naturalization Service. I will only be using the new name throughout this video. Your USCIS interview and appointment letter will look like this. Be sure to check the location, date, and time. It's a good idea to look at a map and make sure you'll know how to get to the location. Don't assume that it's the main USCIS office that you went to before. If you can't make your appointment, you need to contact by mail or in person the USCIS office where your interview is scheduled to explain your circumstances. Do not contact the office where you originally sent your application. They won't be able to help you. Your explanation for not attending has to be something that is not within your control. "I am not ready" is not acceptable. If you're rescheduling because you feel you are unprepared for the U.S. history or civics test, or the speaking and writing English test, we recommend that you go anyway. If you fail either of these tests, you will get a chance to retake the portion of the test you failed. If your address has changed since you sent in your application, the law requires that you contact the USCIS immediately. There are two things you need to do when you contact the USCIS about your address change. The first thing you need to do is call the USCIS customer service to change the information on your current application. The next thing you need to do is file an alien change of address card or Form AR-11 within 10 days of your move. If you follow both of these steps, you won't miss your appointment letter. If you miss your appointment, the USCIS will close your case. Once your case is closed, if you do not contact them within a year, your application will be denied. The next step to get ready for your citizenship interview is to review the information in your application. During the interview, the officer will ask you questions from your application to see if the information is correct, such as your name, your address, and where you were born. If any of your information has changed since you submitted the application, it's important that you bring the documentation for the new information to the interview. For example, if you had a child, you need to give the officer your child's name and a copy of the birth certificate. If you have a new job, just show the officer a pay stub or something similar that has the name and address of the new job. The officer is asking you these questions to make sure that your answers in the interview are consistent with the application, and also to test your ability to speak and understand English. During your interview, you'll be tested on U.S. civics, which is U.S. history and government, and you'll be tested on your knowledge of the English language. For the civics test, the officer is going to ask you up to 10 questions chosen from a list of 100. You will only need to get 6 correct. However, you should know all 100 questions because you won't know which 10 the officer will choose. For the English language test, the officer will test your ability to read, write, and speak English. To test your reading and writing ability, you will be asked to read one simple sentence and write one simple sentence. You will have 3 chances. Your ability to speak English will be tested by answering questions about yourself throughout your interview. We have included a thorough study guide for both the U.S. civics and English language tests in the last part of this video. Study them carefully before your interview. You can also go to the USCIS website to download all of the civics questions for free. You will need to bring certain documents to your interview. For identification, you need to bring your permanent resident or alien registration card. also known as your green card, your passport, even if it's expired, and any re-entry permits you may have. You'll need to bring copies of your federal tax returns for the last 3 years. You should also bring 2 additional passport-style photographs. In some cases, the USCIS may ask you to bring other documents. These documents will be listed on your appointment letter, as you can see here. For example, if you're applying for naturalization as the spouse of a United States citizen, you may be asked to bring your marriage certificate. Or, if you are applying for naturalization as a member of the United States Armed Forces, you will be asked to bring your discharge certificate or Form DD-214. If you forget an important document, you may put your entire interview at risk. Keep in mind that the officer has the authority to look at anything you bring into the interview room, so don't bring anything you wouldn't feel comfortable showing them. For your interview, you should choose clothes that show the officer that you think this interview is important. You want to look nice, and you don't want your appearance to get in the way of having a successful interview. For instance, wearing a shirt that has foul language on it is not a good idea, or if you have a tattoo showing nudity, you should cover that. Let's review everything we've discussed so far. Double-check your appointment details, know your application and any changes since you sent it in, study for your U.S. English languages and civics tests, make sure you have all of your documents, and that you are dressed appropriately. You are now ready for a successful interview. The next section is about the citizenship interview. The citizenship interview is made up of 3 parts: verifying the information on your N-400 application, testing your knowledge of U.S. civics and your ability to speak, read, and write English. The first thing you should do when you get to the USCIS office is hand in your interview notice to an immigration officer. When an officer is ready for you, he or she will call your name and lead you into the office. We are now going to show you a reenactment of a citizenship interview. Every interview is unique in terms of what questions will be asked, but this will give you a good idea of what to expect.